Hey everybody, this is Adam Strum, and we're about to go cruising into a better financial future with your host, Kim Cruz. Hey everybody, Adam Strum here, and it's time to go cruising into a better financial future with your host, Kim Cruz.
Thanks, Adam. I am Kim Cruz. I'm a wife, a mom, daughter, sister, friend, entrepreneur, and business owner of Cruz Credit Consulting, but not necessarily in that order. I have over 30 years experience in corporate America and a passion for helping people succeed in all areas of life. And I'm joined by my friend, Adam Strum. He is the brains behind this production. Adam?
Me? Brains? All right, I'll accept. I'm Adam Strum. I am a 15-year veteran of corporate America, a 5-year veteran of working with corporate America, and then a 13-year veteran of fighting against corporate America. I own On Target Strategies, a business consulting firm. I'm half owner of USFA, US Financial Alliance, 14 financial companies that came together to form one big financial company that can help you with just about anything in your financial world, business or personal. And I am proud to sit next to Kim every week. Kim, go ahead.
And together we review our listeners' financial problems and address them with our experience, tips, tricks, and resources of network referrals to help you cruise into a better financial future.
That sounds great. We have a special guest with us this week.
I am so excited about our guest.
We have the host of the Label Free podcast with us. And in fact, living label free, I should say it the right way though, because I don't want Deanna to get on my case. I want to say it right. Living your best life label free
Yes,
is the
that's
proper
right.
way to say it.
That is correct. Yes.
Is what Deanna's all about. And she took quite a road to get to where she is now. And that road includes the world of fashion, the world of corporate mergers, the world of bodybuilding, the world of pageantry. She's done it all, and that is an understatement.
Yeah, this is very true, Adam. Thank you for that introduction.
My
I
pleasure.
think that life is so short and we need to live our life to the fullest. And I really don't believe in labels because I feel like labels kind of hold us back from achieving our greatest potential.
I couldn't agree with you more. People get labeled in such crazy ways too. You get labeled by your religion, labeled by your gender, labeled by your skin color, labeled by your education level, labeled by your boss, labeled by your job.
Yes.
We spend so much time on labels that could be spent bettering ourselves. And so I couldn't agree with you more. I've watched a bunch of episodes. I love your show. Your show is just so much fun to watch and so educational in
Yes.
every aspect.
Me too. It's my new walking podcast. When I go walking, oh, yes. Yeah.
Kim does a power walk every morning. I know that you hit the gym every day, Deanna.
I try to, except for this last week after throwing a rib out, I couldn't function. But yes, I do try to hit the gym at least once a day. I usually go twice a day if I can fit it in.
I don't blame you.
Wow.
Kim does a power walk every morning, and I usually end up buzzing in her ear while she's walking. But if I'm not buzzing in her ear, it's you that's buzzing in her ear. So,
thank you. I love that.
And then I have a workout just chasing my cat around the house, trying to catch him. So I also hit the gym. I try. I do pump. I want to stay in shape. It's just there's so little time with all the things that go on in life. And so I keep restructuring to try to fit everything in.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, with that being said, little disclaimer, talking about your cat, I have two dogs. One's a foster puppy. So if you hear a little something in the background, it's probably my little puppy. So I have to put a disclaimer there just in case.
Oh, he's invited to join anytime. Not a problem.
Yeah, believe me, she probably will be making an appearance.
That's just fine. We have no problem with that. The more special guests, the better.
Awesome.
Now, a couple of things. We're going to hit an article that we found that just came out 2 days ago that we're going to talk about a little bit. But before we even get to that, there's one other thing that you support, and Kim and I support the other end of what you support. Now, I know we all have philanthropic things we do.
Yes.
And yours, I believe, is to help end trafficking, isn't it?
Yes, human trafficking, and at least not. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to necessarily end it with how powerful the people are that are behind it, but at least bring awareness around it. I actually currently rolled out a food and craft drive supporting the Refuge for Women Chicago here locally. I've got about 10 locations that I need to still set up, which is great. You know, the more brick and mortar locations that we can get boxes to actually just let people know that we are supporting their cause, so that they can think about it. And maybe it'll help educate them that it is a big problem.
Right. It's a big problem that doesn't get talked about enough. And
No.
what's funny is I said Kim and I support the other end of it. See,
Yes.
Kim and I support the same locations you do, but for the other side of the work they do, which is helping women escape abusive relationships. That's our philanthropic deal, what we do, what we support. And we work with centers in, I think it's 19 states now,
Oh, wow.
trying to help them work better together to help women relocate when they need to move away because they had a powerful or a popular abusive husband or boyfriend that can override any help they get within their current city or state. And so we're trying to bridge the gap that's been there for years between the states and the different women's shelters. It's very hard for them to work together because leakages can cause death.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
it's scary to
Yes.
think of that, but it's true. If information of where someone left to gets out, these guys are crazy. I mean, I've read some stories that are worse than anything you'd see on television.
Yeah, it reminds me of. Do you remember that movie Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts?
Oh, yes, yes.
It's very similar.
That
Just
was an
like that.
amazing
Yeah.
movie.
It's
And,
it's shocking. It's shocking how many women are in that situation though.
you know, just yesterday, I was reading a Facebook post, and the simple post was, how many of you women keep a secret savings account? And many of them did, for reasons that they never know when they have to leave their relationship. And I mean, there were very varying views on this, because some of them were saying, well, if you're in a trusted relationship, why would you keep a secret from your why would you keep a savings account secret?
Right.
And there were some that said, there was a lady that said whenever she went to the grocery store, she had to buy an extra pair of socks just so that she can return the socks and keep the money, because
Wow.
her husband had such a financial control over their finances that she knew that if anything were to ever happen, she would have nothing.
Yeah.
So she was saving up sock money every week at the grocery store. And it's a shame that women are abused. And it's not always women, it's sometimes
No.
the woman that is controlling the finances as well. But I was
I'm
telling,
sorry to say this, but I'll be honest. It's easier for a man to escape an abusive relationship
Yes.
than it is for a woman.
yes,
I would
yes,
agree. I would
He's
agree.
not going to be looking over his shoulder that much. I'll give you the perfect example. Look at the reaction Tiger Woods' wife had when she found out he cheated. She went out with a golf club and broke the windows of his car, and that was the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
She didn't go hunt him down outside his job with a gun the way some
yeah,
abusive men will do. If
It's-
I
yeah.
can't control you, nobody will have you. And it's insane, some of the stories I've read. And I'm honored being a guy, being a male that is accepted into the women's networks. It's one
Yeah.
of my greatest accomplishments, in my opinion. I was raised by my mom. My dad had moved out. He and I were estranged for many years. We are now closer than we were when I was a kid, but it took a lot of bridge building to get there.
Yeah.
And, you know, my mom wasn't abused by my dad so much as she was fearful of him. And there's a long story, and I'm not going to get into it. The whole fact is, I was raised in a women's atmosphere. We talked about this when Dr. Bush was on a couple of days ago. And, you know, I have 13 out of 14 of my cousins are female. I have two sisters and a stepbrother. I don't have a brother that was born into the family, one that married into the family. I was raised in an atmosphere of all women. And I got to see how they got treated as they got older, as they found jobs, and it was completely different than the way I was treated when I went out into the workforce and when I went to school and I always felt it was unfair. And I was By the time I was 21, I wanted into the women's movement. I wanted to help women achieve, here's the glass ceiling. I wanted to make sure they got here,
Yeah,
you know,
that's great.
because if I have learned men make decisions based on emotion, not rationality.
Mm.
So in other words, if we're angry, our decision's going to be filled with anger. Women don't make decisions that way. I guess it's the mom mentality. I'm not sure. I don't mean to be dismissive or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing. But
Right.
seriously, women usually weigh things better than men weigh them.
Well, we
And
take a look at the reaction and what it is going to affect.
right.
That's
And you
the
get
thing.
more rational decisions that way. And so
Hmm.
there need to be more women in power. There just do. I mean, it needs to be balanced. You're 53% of the population, yet you're only 20% of the representation. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
All right.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
I keep up to date. I really do. And I'm very proud. And Deanna, we've met a couple of times in a couple of different networking groups. And
Yes.
the fact of the matter is, and I brag about this every single week, and I will never stop bragging about it on Facebook, where there are a million groups. I belong to two women's empowerment groups, and I'm the only male in both groups.
Wow, that's amazing. Good for you,
So,
Adam.
and I want to help as much as I can. I want to help break the stigma, and I want to see fair pay as well. Fair pay would be women get 20% more than men do. That would be fair because you guys tend to work harder. You take less breaks. You don't look for ways out of your work. It's a fact, that when you're
Yeah.
given an assignment, that assignment becomes number one on your list. When a male is given an assignment, it becomes number three on his list.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
it's just the mentality. And I've studied it a lot. I mean, you'd
I
be
didn't know that.
surprised. I'm an insomniac. I sleep 3 hours a night.
Oh,
So I have a
yeah.
lot of time to study when there's nothing else to do, because from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., that 3 hours every night, there's no business that can be conducted in the US. There's,
That's
nobody to
true.
talk to. So I just study things, and I look at studies and facts, and I don't listen to the left or the right. I listen to the facts themselves because they
Yeah,
speak for themselves.
this is true.
Now, with all of that said, we have a great article for what I'm
I know.
just
I see we
talking
can keep
about.
going on all this. So yeah, let's get to the article.
Yep. This week's article, Kim found it, and it applies to something I'm fighting for. It's my personal vendetta to see it happen. And they're trying another test trial. There have been tests done in New Jersey and in
Mhm.
Stockton, California, and in Atlanta, and a few other states have done trials of this. And every trial has had nothing but 100% positive results. So,
Yep.
Kim, go ahead. You start us off. Tell us about the article.
So I actually was at the Spectrum store yesterday and I saw it on the Spectrum News. And I knew that this was near and dear to you, Adam. So I Googled it and found a CNN article that Oakland will now be giving low-income families of color $500 per month, no strings attached. So it goes into the reasons behind this, bringing the lower income up to an equal level. They can spend this on whatever they want. And like you mentioned, it does indicate that this has been very, very successful with other initiatives in New Jersey, Atlanta, Georgia. And they're hoping that this will be rolled out in wider areas. So I'm excited to see the results of this.
I'm
And
hoping it gets rolled out nationwide because I think it can fix capitalism. And I've told you this, and I have my
yes,
reasons, and I'm going to get a grandstand when I have my 50-member panel that I'm organizing for the end of April. Universal basic income is something we've been looking at. There have been over 100 TED Talks on the subject. Other countries are now doing it. In fact, in Switzerland, they've started this. And in Sweden, they do this, not through the whole country, but a large portion of the population. And they're giving them a full annual salary. They're giving them the equivalent of $24,000 a year in American money. And that is enough to pay their rent, food, and basic living expenses. There's almost nothing left after you pay your bills, which is the point. The point is they don't want you not to work, but they don't want you to worry about, can I keep a roof over my head?
right, right.
The incentive then is to find the job you like instead of the job you need.
Hmm.
And when you find the job you like, you're going to be a lot more productive because it's something you enjoy doing. And you'd be surprised. There are people born who just can't wait from the age of 5 to the age of 20 to become garbage men. And I've seen it. I know kids who are like, I want to drive that big truck and I want to show off my muscles and lift those pails and those bags. And they want to do that. And there is someone who wants to do just about every job, no matter how low on the totem pole you think it is. There are people who just want to do that. But right now we have more people doing jobs they hate because they need the paycheck to survive.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't work. And studies have been done, and almost every 96% of the studies found that alcohol use, tobacco use, drug use drops when you start giving away this free money.
Sure.
The reasons that people use the drugs and alcohol usually is to escape the depression that sets in when you realize I'm going to be a McDonald's worker the rest of my life. And that's where you get more of the drug use than anything else, is people who don't think they'll amount to anything and don't know if they're ever going to get out of their mom's basement, et cetera, et cetera. But now when you think that, hey, when I turn 19, I can move out because I'm going to get $1,500 or $2,000 a month, no matter what happens. And I can find a job that I like. If I want to be a tattoo artist, I can take my time and find the tattoo parlor that'll hire me. Whatever it is that their aspiration is, it gives them more of an incentive to stay straight, because now they can literally get to where they want to go. Even if it means more school, now you don't have to worry that you're going to be homeless if you go to school, because
Right.
your basic income is met.
Mhm.
Deanna, what's your opinion on this?
So, I mean, I'm very open-minded, but you know, as someone who's always worked for everything her whole life, and you know, I've experienced. I mean, I don't necessarily call some things I've done as failure that have not worked out. You know, look at them as learning lessons. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if I agree 100% with
That's
giving
okay.
money, you know, because I've had to work, you know, and there's so many anomalies, you know, that comes along with, you know, giving people that have a low income, you know, there's schooling where they need education. I think the education comes first. You know, you can give them all this money, but are they going to know how to manage their finances? You know, so
Mhm.
and I hear that it's a success. That's great, but what are we basing success on? Are we basing it on that they're improving their way of life, or are we basing a success on that? Oh, that low income standard has risen, and not necessarily that they are improving their lifestyle and becoming a better version of themselves. I mean, I have not done a lot of research into it, and I understand where you're coming from, and I think that you're
Sure.
coming from a good place. But someone, I grew up in a little bit of the ghetto we moved to Three Rivers, Michigan, and my father wanted to change the world. He ran for office down there, and our neighbors were all, you know, we were the only white family, and you know,
I know that feeling. I grew up in Brooklyn, so
okay,
you
so
know.
no matter what we did, it was all low income. No matter what we did to help them, they did not want to help themselves. So at the end of the day, if you're going to give money to people, you just hope that they are going to want to help themselves. You know, and I understand the depression side of things, because when I lost everything after my husband passed, I was depressed. It was not easy, but I also come from a very strong background, family background, you know, good values, where I wasn't going to allow myself to sink into that hole. And I do have education, so I was going to get myself out of it, and I was going to keep moving forward. Whereas I think that there's so many things that have been systematically put into a lot of these low income families that, you know, it's going to be hard to break out of. And I'm not sure if
Correct.
you're aware, but they rolled this out in Evanston here in Illinois. So Evanston is starting to pay out to the Black families, you know, a reparation as well.
Yes, they were
Mhm.
the first city to actually call it, though, a reparations
Oh,
payment.
okay.
But it is the same type of thing. Here's some of the percentages, and I want you to do your research. I'd like to invite you on my 50-member panel, because I don't want all positive. I want people to give both sides of the story. But just some numbers. Every community that's tried this has seen a 13% reduction in disease and medical problems, because people are able to take better care of themselves and eat
Sure.
better because they can afford it. They have seen a rise in the amount of people going to school of 26%, doing extra above high school education.
Oh, good.
So the numbers, you know, are not just people that are like, yay, I can sit home and watch TV and not worry.
Right.
They're actually doing it. And they saw a 17% rise in people starting their own businesses, which to me is the most important part of everything.
Yeah.
that's the best way. See, just like you, when I turned 13 in Brooklyn, I was allowed to get my working papers. This is back in the early 1980s. And the minute I got my working papers, I started working the maximum 6 hours a day I was allowed to, and
Sure.
I've never looked back. 80-hour weeks were the norm for about 20 years for me. I mentioned to you a company that you did some merger work with.
Yes.
I was an executive there at the time, and I saw your name. I never met you in person, but you did some work with the company I come from, Verizon.
Yes.
I was there before it was Bell Atlantic,
Okay. Yeah.
way before it became Verizon.
Mm.
And I was there through the mergers into Verizon, and then 2 years after it became Verizon, right there at the financial crisis in 2008 is when I walked away.
Oh, okay.
That's when I spent 5 years, as I say, working with instead of for corporate America,
Right. Right.
because I started doing what you did, introducing the people I had met during the previous 15 years and helping people get together and helping projects occur between, say, Cox and Verizon and Comcast and Verizon. And they do work together. Everybody thinks they hate each other. No, the telecoms all work together. They are not
Yeah.
against one another at all. Believe me, they are all in this together, just like the airlines are all in it together.
Right.
They claim to be competition and they're not. Believe me,
Oh,
their
yeah.
boards of directors all meet in the same room once a year.
Yep.
With all that said, that's why I'd like you to do a little more research on this, because
I will.
it's just amazing that not only does it end poverty, which is the number that you were talking about, which is kind of a fake number. Yeah, okay, we can end poverty just by giving out food, clothing, and free housing without giving away the money.
Right.
But the money itself changes the mindset of the person.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
the fact that they don't put a limit on what you can use that money for allows the testing to occur to see if they waste that money. Like you said, some people just can't get out of their old habits of wasting money,
Right.
whether they have gambling addictions or
Right.
other things. So the testing, when they give the money instead of giving the things, allows you to actually see who wasted their money versus who used their money in an effective manner. And 88% use it in an effective manner.
Well, that's really good. Those
Yeah,
numbers, that's a huge
it's just
number.
amazing. That's why I'm
Well,
fighting so hard for it.
I think
Go ahead,
that
Kim.
Deanna has valid points. She has
She
valid
does.
because there are people that, no matter what nationality, race, or background they have, that will just take the money and they will not work. So there are those people out there. There are people that continue to have children so that they can get an additional paycheck.
Right.
So
Right. Our
there-
welfare system's totally broken.
Yes.
So,
there
you know,
there does need to be a balance. So I completely understand where you're coming from, Deanna.
oh,
and
she
that
has a
is-
very valid point.
that
Like
is
I
true.
said, I want both sides
Yes.
of this story told. I'm not having this
Yes.
special just to, glorify universal basic income. That's not what it's about. I want open debate, and I want
this
people to
is
give both
different.
sides.
This is different than universal basic
Well, yes, it's not
income.
enough to survive on. It's just
Correct.
supplemental.
This is to supplement those that are working. So in addition to your wages, it's not instead of wages.
So right now, that's only going to families of color, correct?
Correct.
And
in that
indigenous.
area.
And
So
indigenous.
So here's where, like, and I don't want to bring up the race card because it's such a sensitive issue. But so after my husband passed and I almost lost everything. I had to go to the food pantry. I was working 5 jobs to try to recover. I mean, you talk about going from multi-million-dollar lifestyle to nothing.
Right.
And I went to go get
food pantry is canned green beans and cornflakes.
But
I've been.
I tried to get food stamps, like the SNAP benefits, and I was denied because I was working for Art Van and I was at the below poverty level, but I was denied because even though I was bringing in that small income, that they would not approve me for those food stamps. And I was just and I could only get so much food from the food pantry. And I'm my family was offering to help, but I did not want to become dependent on that help from my family. I'm old enough. I've been through enough. I'm smart enough. I don't need to do that. I'm an able-bodied person. I can go out and work. And I was working my ass off, and I was also having this big dream. I was going to go chase my fashion empire, which never happened. But, that was for me, that was another wake-up call too. Oh my God, here I am. I've worked my whole life and I get denied when I'm in a very desperate place that I couldn't even get food stamps. So to me, like, okay, so if I'm in that situation again, only families of color that are in that situation are only going to get this kind of help. What about someone like me that, like, God forbid that ever happened to me?
See, I agree with you. I think
Right.
they've limited it way too much. It should be given to every resident of the city of Oakland, and this way they can do a true test.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think they've limited it way too much. It needs to be broadened, not focused the way they focused it. I'll give you a quick example of how broken the system is, and this is absolutely true, and I will be glad to provide documentation for anyone who wants to see it. But my baby sister, my little sister who I grew up with, I hit college in 1986. She hit college 3 years later, 1989, in New York City. She loved going to school. I hated going to school. I wanted to work because I had started working at 13. I worked through high school. When I got to college, as you know, college is very demanding. There's a big reading list, and it's hard to get your work in and get your studies in. And it was driving me nuts. I knew I could change the world if I got out there and just worked.
Yeah.
So I was only too happy because there were limits on the grants you could get to go to college per household. I was glad to leave college at 2 years so that my sister could apply for her TAP, Pell, and all the other grants so that she could get in because she loved studying and she wanted to be a teacher.
Wow.
Well, my sister got in. She started college. I left. She got all the grants. She didn't have to worry about paying for college.
Wow.
Now, here comes the fun part. My mom was disabled and receiving because I had moved out already at that point. At 18, I was out.
Yeah.
My sister's now in college studying to be a teacher, running a 4.0 GPA, taking 16 credits a semester,
Wow.
accelerated so she could finish early. New York still to this day has a teacher shortage. Okay. They put a means test on all these benefits and said, well, you have to work if you're going to receive food stamps, welfare, and all these other. And my sister's like, but there's no time to work. I take 16 credits in college and I'm running a 4.0. I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to help solve a problem.
Right.
They didn't care about that. She had to lower it from 16 to 11 credits so she could do the workfare thing.
Wow.
Where she got paid a total of $2.08 an hour because that's how much welfare she received for the work she did.
Yeah.
Remember, when you're on workfare, you don't get a paycheck. You're allowed to have, you're volunteering basically, and they let you have your welfare. Well, the amount of welfare she received for the number of hours she did amounted to $2.08 an hour, which is, 1/3 of the minimum wage in New York at that time. And it took her 2 extra years to become a teacher. She graduated magna cum laude, 4.0 GPA straight through at NYU. She's been teaching. Yeah, she's been teaching for 27 years in Staten Island, New York, specializing in early childhood education. She could have been doing it for 29 years.
Yeah.
But the means testing that blocked you from getting your food stamps blocked her from graduating early enough to help the teacher shortage and to get into the school. It's broken. It's completely broken. This mentality of, oh, if you want a handout, you got to go work for it, doesn't work. It breaks down to where the people who need the help the most, like you did when you applied, don't get it because
it doesn't make any sense.
Right, it's backwards.
I'm in a place. I'm in a place of need. How am I supposed to get to do this if you can't balance it out? It doesn't make any sense.
And then worst of all, you take that mother of two, which is very common in Chicago, very common in LA, very common in New York, a little less common here in Arizona, but the single mother of two, right? And she's on all these programs. She has Medicaid, she has food stamps, and she has a welfare check. She needs to take care of it because she cannot afford childcare. Hell, most of the working class people of America cannot afford childcare. Right. The second spouse works a full-time job just to pay for the childcare, which makes no sense at all. She'd be better off staying home and not making that money and not paying for the childcare. That all is wonderful, but here's the big problem. That mom wants to work in most cases. You'd be surprised. They don't feel like they're contributing, and it's instilled in us to do something with our lives, no matter what it is, work, volunteer work, but to do something. Most people can't just sit at home. It doesn't work for the psyche. So they want to work, but the minute she goes and gets a job somewhere, she immediately loses all of those benefits. Yeah. Now she has 2 kids with no medical coverage. She has to pay for food. She's going to have less money coming in working than she had on the welfare system, where she didn't have to worry about paying a doctor each time her kid breaks a finger, and kids do this all the time. I mean, let's be honest. Kids from the age of 5 to 12, their goal is, how can I hurt myself right now? It's, between sliding downstairs in a cardboard box, which I've seen a dozen times. They all do these things because they don't know science yet, and they haven't figured out what's really dangerous and what isn't. It just sounds fun, so they do it. I broke both pinkies when I was younger, and now they don't work right. So I'm a good example of
Boys
this.
will be boys.
Exactly,
Oh yeah, I have
exactly.
3 of them. Yep.
So,
Yep.
that mom is given a disincentive.
Yeah.
She has to stay on the programs or her family's at risk, but she wants to work, but there's just no way. And most jobs don't let you have your benefits till you're 3 or 6 months into the job. So for 6 months, there's no food stamps, there's no Medicaid. If something goes wrong at all, they're at huge risk. She'd have to quit her job to go back on the programs. And that's not easy. It's really rough to go back on when you get off.
Yep.
I think we've kind of seen that in this last year with, the extra benefits that have been paid out through unemployment. There's a lot of people that didn't want to go back to work because they were making more money on unemployment than they were at their job.
Yep.
And a lot of people have had trouble getting the unemployment because of the way they earn their money. They made it a requirement that you have to apply with your state in order to get that extra federal benefit.
Yeah.
You can't apply directly to the federal government for that extra $300.
Unemployment is a state program, right?
Right. And then the feds put their money on top of it. Well, the states have instituted 2 rules that totally ruin the extra unemployment. Rule number 1 is you still have to be approved for your state's unemployment in order to get the federal money. And if the state hasn't done something to adjust for gig workers and all of that, you're kind of screwed, number 1. But they have mostly done the adjustments so that gig workers and entrepreneurs whose businesses are dead in the water for the moment can apply, but they take a long time to get approved, if approved. Yeah. And then the other problem that the states have made on the unemployment issue is if you earn the unemployment, and we've had people walk into USFA about this, they're like, I can't apply. If I apply, I'm going to lose my medical benefits because the state, like Arizona, counts that federal extra money towards your income eligibility for your Medicaid and your food stamps. So if they accept the unemployment, they lose all their benefits. So it's a trap. It's just a total trap. And that's why we need these programs to go away for the most part, not completely, because there are still people that'll fall through the cracks in the UBI system. But you don't really need food stamps for the masses or welfare for the masses or Section 8 for the masses or any of the handout programs if you have a $2,000 a month universal basic income. You get rid of the bureaucracy involved. Yes, there's going to be people who will abuse this. Of course. But do you know how many people abuse the current system?
Oh, of course.
So it's not going to be any worse.
It's
not going to be any worse, but a lot more people will benefit. That's how I look at it.
Sure.
Well, we can definitely see that Adam is passionate about this, and that's why we're having a whole segment on it.
A wee tiny little bit. I've given it 5 minutes of thought.
I think this is the longest we've ever discussed an article on our episode. It's a great article.
We do have 5 questions, though. We really do have 5 questions that are right up Deanna's alley.
Yes. I read them. So
yes, we picked them out of our mail. The questions come from viewers of the channel, from Kim's emails that she gets from people in her business, and from emails I receive in my 3 companies. So we pool all of those together. And that's how we come up with questions for our guests, because we can always find 5 that apply to our guest. And the 5 we have today definitely apply when it comes to what you've done and what you've accomplished in your life. So we're calling you the expert on these, and Kim and I will chime in with you. But let's answer these questions and have some fun doing it.
Okay.
Kim, you want to do number 1 this time?
I do. I'm going to start with the first one from Julie in San Francisco. How do I decide if I should pursue my own business instead of continuing to work for others? And I think all 3 of us have experience in this. So Deanna?
Well, I am a serial entrepreneur. And so I found after having to get into corporate world that I definitely like working for myself and others. And the only thing is you have to be prepared to, if you're going to start your own business, pursue your own business, you really need to be prepared that you might experience failure, and that does not necessarily mean that you'll be a failure, but maybe you did not find the right niche that you should be in. I definitely encourage anyone to go after, if they have a desire to start a business. I think that it's very important. It's the backbone of our country, and you'll never know unless you try. And I've continued to pursue having my own businesses, and you might have to be in a job for a while and learn to juggle that until you can get your business off the ground running. But I am 100% like, yes, you should go after it. Have a good business plan though.
That's where it starts. It starts with the
Nope,
business plan.
We've
Best
talked about
advice.
that. We've
Yes.
talked about that with Angel Cerna, with Andre Baracco, with Captain Peterson two weeks ago.
Nice.
All of these people, and we know that having a business plan, a roadmap to your success is really important, and having mentors who've already succeeded is almost as important, because they can help you avoid the pitfalls and the loose floorboards you're going to step on along the way where you'll fall through. And so I agree with what Deanna said completely, 100%. But here's what you have to realize. You do, for some time at least, need to work for someone else, because if you're going to be an effective boss yourself one day, if you're going to run your own business, you need to know what not to do.
Yeah.
And by spending a little time, I saw the face you made when you said it, by spending a little time in corporate America, even if it's only a year or two, you can learn what doesn't work. Yeah. For instance, blanket policies never work. Blanket policies will immediately turn some people off, and that's the whole point of blanket policies, because one size does not fit all. Human beings are incredibly different from person to person. And corporate America believes only in blanket policies. I want every single person who works for this company selling our product on every single service call. And Kim, you talked about this with when you were with UPS, how you're telling them, well, we have to limit you, but we'd like you to buy more of our product.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you had to say that. You were forced to say that. And at Verizon, when I had a young girl call me up who was, crying to me on the phone because she just buried her father early that morning and was calling to do a record change to change the phone bill into her name. And I have a manager standing behind me saying, hey, if you don't sell her something on this call, you're being suspended.
Yeah, no. I'm not down. I'm not down with the high pressure sales. Like, no.
I like to be a comedian. So I always say this: if you remember Circuit City, which was everywhere,
yeah,
or PC Richards, which was everywhere, or today it's Best Buy that's still around. Go to a Best Buy and just put your foot through the doorway. Don't walk in, just put your foot in the doorway. Wait about 10 seconds and 4 salespeople will be asking your foot what it wants to look at today.
Oh gosh.
And
I'm not going to try that, but I believe you.
Yeah, no, it's real. It's like being attacked.
Does your foot have to be wearing a mask?
The foot does not. Once you put your head in, it does. But your foot does not. But it's true. It really is true. They'll be at the doorway, and as the door opens and closes, because they mostly have automatic doors, they'll be talking to you through the door because your foot's already in the store. Do you want to look at TVs or computers? How can we help you? What can we show you? I'm here to browse. I don't know if I need anything yet, but I'll gladly come and get you when I figure that out. How about you don't attack me the second I walk in the door, and you let me at least figure out what it is I want to look at? But that's their policy. Their policy is no one walks in the store without you asking, how can I help you today? And it sounds positive from the corporate standpoint, but it seems negative to the consumer. And that's why blanket policies are bad. I didn't want to get into blanket policies, though. The whole point that I was making is just you have to learn what is good and bad. And the only way you're going to do that is with experience. That's what I was trying to say.
Right.
Yeah.
And so get that experience. What was the name of this? Was Julie, right?
Julie.
Yes.
In San
Julie,
Francisco.
go get that experience. Don't give up your job until your business plan is complete, till you have your mentors in place that you'll turn to for help who've already been successful. And if you don't have those, you have Kim, you have Deanna, you have me. All of our information is going to be in the description box below this video. We can definitely help guide you, at least give you some mentorship in starting your own business. We've all started multiple businesses. We'd be very happy to help. Your success becomes our success when you come to us. So, that's why we do what we do.
And
From
I
here, I'll give it
am
to Kim. Yep.
chomping at the bit to get to this one because I refer to myself as a runaway from corporate America. Like I mentioned, I've been in corporate America for over 30 years and I have experience on both sides. So I grew up in corporate America working at the major transportation company right out of college. While I was in college, then moved into management. And then I've worked for 3 of the major telecommunications companies as well in management positions. And working for somebody else is so much different because you're playing by their rules, no matter what you think is right or wrong, which is really, really tough on somebody's personal value. And sometimes you have to do things that you do not feel are right, but because this is what the board of directors says, and you have a fiduciary responsibility to the board of directors, this is the way you have to act, and these are the things that you have to do. So that's why I left corporate America. I want to be my own boss and I want to do the right thing. And I have a passion for helping people. And I'm not going to let policies and things like that get in the way of helping people. But you are absolutely right, Deanna, when you say find what you want to do, but make sure you have a game plan to do it. And you don't want to just up and leave your job to start your own business, because I also have experience on the other side. My husband has been self-employed for the majority of our marriage, 26, almost 26 years of marriage. And right after we got married, he quit his job in corporate America and opened up a landscape company. And when times are good, they are really, really good. But when times are bad, they're really, really bad. And the biggest advice I would give to Julie is go after your dreams, go after what you want, believe in yourself, have a game plan, and always remember your enthusiasm about wanting to start your business, because I think that will help get you through the challenges that you have. And Deanna, on some of your podcasts, the one that resonated with me the most was with one of your guests, Boz.
Oh
Oz.
gosh, yes.
That
And
was a great episode.
Yeah.
and you always have to believe in yourself and take that risk, but you could limit the risk factor when you're still working for somebody else. And like Adam, you said, learn from your bosses, learn what works, what doesn't work. So Julie, go after what you believe, have a backup plan as well, and have your game plan ready to go.
Now it's funny, we answered question 2 already by answering Julie, but
Yeah.
I'm going to let you know what question 2 was. And it came from Sam in Omaha, Nebraska. Is it possible to work on freeing myself from wage slavery while continuing to be a wage slave? Let me first define what that is so people understand that. Wage slavery is renting yourself to a boss or company for a certain amount per hour. It's what we all do. We call it work, but in reality, once you rent yourself to them, you must play by their rules, like Kim was just saying. So therefore, it is a form, although it's kind of, not like slavery that we talk about in history, but it is a form of slavery because your morals don't matter anymore. Your boss's morals, your company's morals are all that matter. So when they tell you to sell that 13-year-old girl, whatever, that had to change the 18-year-old girl had to change the record to her name that just buried her father, you have to sell her, because if that's the company policy, that's the company policy, and you can't say no or you lose a week's pay. So, it is wage slavery, but the answer, we already covered it. So we're going to move to question 3. The answer, Sam, is of course you can, and you should. You should continue to work while building the structure of your business. Be careful about opening your company, whatever that is, while you're still working for someone else, because that could be a conflict depending on where you work and who you work for. So be careful about opening, but you can get to the point of your grand opening before you decide to take the chance and leave your job to do your business. You can actually have a structure in place to hold yourself steady when you make the transition. Oh, that was a lot. Okay.
I've got 8 minutes, guys.
Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Kim, question 3.
Is from Barbara in Vermont. I have many passions. Should I pursue all of them or just one? Let's get your feedback on that, Deanna.
I think it really I mean, so I have many passions, and I try to pursue all of them, just because, first of all, I'm a great multitasker, and they're all very important to me. And as passionate as Adam is, if he doesn't continue to pursue that passion's going to die. And I feel like that's something that is so terrible for us, for our souls, for our betterment as a society. So, people feed off of that passion. So if you have many passions, you just have to learn where to prioritize which one, and make sure that you're not falling short in any other area of life where it's going to be harmful instead of, beneficial.
Exactly.
I agree. Kim,
Prioritize.
go ahead.
Prioritize. I think that's the key. Prioritize. I think you can juggle them, but you have to be consistent in your workflow, and if you have to be able to dedicate the right amount of time to each passion that you have to make it successful.
And I'll just add this because we are short on time. We discussed our article a lot today, and that's my fault, and so I apologize. The short answer on this is pursue all of them, but pursue them one at a time. Build one from the other. Find a way when you're doing your roadmap, when you're doing your business plan, how you can hit on each of your passions along the way. There's no reason to exclude something that you're passionate about. That's why I have a business consulting firm and a financial company. I'm passionate about both things, helping businesses succeed and helping people get out of debt and rebuild their financial health. So there's no reason you can't do things that don't even work together well, as long as you have a roadmap that gets you from city to city, town to town along the way.
Yeah.
Question 4, we're almost there. We still have 5 minutes. We're going to make it. We have Kevin in Idaho who says, I have wanted to start my own company for a long time, but I'm scared that I will fail. Any advice?
Well, I think I already talked about this in question number 1, or I could talk about it earlier in the episode. You know what? There's always a chance of failure, and I don't look at failure as actual failure. I look at it more as a learning lesson. And you'll never know unless you actually try. And, if that desire is there, you really need to honor yourself by pursuing that desire, but be smart about it. Do your research, have a plan. But, you don't know unless you're going to try. So, I mean, and failure is not necessarily failure. Like, I just don't look at it like that.
It isn't, because just look at Amazon. The first 5 years they lost money.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Failure is just success that hasn't happened yet.
That's right. Good one, Adam.
I'll give it to you, Kim.
Well, I totally agree with her. There are so many companies that have failed the first time around, and you make changes, you pivot, and you learn from your mistakes. So
and that's the key, learning from one's mistakes so that you do better the next try.
and just have your game plan ready to go.
Yep,
Get
that's
that
life,
business plan.
relationships. That works for just about everything, is learn from your mistakes. When you don't learn from your mistakes, you tend to repeat them.
Yes.
Yep.
The last question comes from Trudy in Lawrence, Kansas. Lawrence, Kansas, shout out to the fans of Supernatural. She wants to know, is network marketing or an MLM the same as owning my own business?
So I'm not a big fan of those companies, and I've had many opportunities to get involved in them. And for me, it's just not something I'm interested in getting involved in, because it's like a pyramid scheme, and if you run it like a business, it can be a business. So it really depends on how you're going to view it. For me, my viewpoint on it is much different, because I have been an entrepreneur. I've actually built businesses from the ground up, and gone out there and built relationships and signed multi-million-dollar contracts. You're still with an MLM company, you really are working for someone else at the end of the day. So, you can operate it like your own business, but you are furthering someone else's goal, someone else's dream at the end of the day, and you're using your network to make that happen.
Kim?
Well, I have also been involved in a few direct selling, network marketing, MLM programs. And I have found if you brand yourself, it can work better. And you're absolutely right. You can build a business around it. And some aspects of my company are affiliate programs that I will refer some of my clients to, which will operate pretty much the same way. So it all depends on how you're branding yourself and what you're doing with that. And you can use them as a foundation for your business. So it all depends on what the product is, what the service is, what the company is, and definitely what the compensation structure is. So I think it's possible. I am a fan of some of them, not all of them.
All right. So I'm going to get the last word here, and I'm going to drop some knowledge on everybody. I'm the only person I know who got fired by Amway for selling too much product when I was a young man. I wasn't networking enough for them. I was selling a ton of product and making really good money, but I wasn't bringing people to their weekly meetings to sign up. And therefore, since I wasn't expanding my network, they sent me a letter stating they would no longer pay my commissions. My commissions were $1,900 a week.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, but I had to walk away because I wasn't about to start calling everyone I've ever met in life to sell them on selling Amway products.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not going to get into details because we're very short on time. But the fact is this: yes and no is the answer to your question in that order. Yes, it is your business, but you're still following the structure of a corporate American rule. So Deanna was right on point. Perfect answer. Use it. If you're into a network marketing, if there's a product you're passionate about in a network marketing or MLM structure, go ahead and give it a shot, but learn from it. Learn what works, what doesn't, how you bring your customers in, because when you open your own company later and you don't have to answer to your MLM or your network marketing company, you'll already know what works for your customers, and it'll work better because you'll be able to adjust and not be stuck with the structure that the company you're MLMing with is forcing you to use. You'll be able to change your structure. Quick example is USFA has a marketing division with an incredible marketing program. Kim knows it, she sells it. And we have an affiliate or MLM program with it, but we tell you, do not network this. Do not. We will build your network for you. We don't even want you to bring anybody to us. Just sell the product, which is the thing I got fired for, which is why I'm passionate about doing it the other way. When they bring in a new customer, we give that customer the incentive to bring in 2 more customers to get their package for free. And this way, your network is built for you by us. And we know that they're getting proper service and they're getting the package they paid for. And you're making the extra commissions for the people we brought in under you, which is a win-win-win. It's a new form of network marketing. Instead of the pyramid, it's an upside down pyramid.
That's really good. I like that idea.
And the other
and
thing
it
that
still works. The company makes the same amount of money either way.
do want to add is that a few weeks ago, we had on a national tax strategist. If you are a W-2 employee, one of these MLMs, network marketing, direct sales company, having that on the side in addition to your W-2 allows you to have so many more write-offs that you are actually putting money back in your pocket. So if you are one that buys Avon, buys Color Street, buys Tupperware, buys anything like that, it is in your best interest to become a distributor so that you can just take advantage of all of the tax
the tax benefits.
So there's
as
another,
long as you're attempting to earn an income from it, you get tax write-offs. I want to say thank you so much to Deanna for making time for us. I know your schedule is insane. I know what my schedule is like, and I know yours is more packed than mine is, which is just, it blows my mind to think about it.
Yeah, and it's even worse now because I had to cancel everything the last couple of days, but we're getting back on track.
That's okay. I know you're running catch up, which is why I don't want to keep you any longer than we have to. But you have been just a wonderful guest. We loved having you here. I love your opinions, even the ones that don't necessarily agree with me. Those are my favorite opinions, to be honest with you, because those are the ones that make me stop and think about why I'm passionate about X, Y, Z. And I was on the debate team when I was in college for a reason, because once I choose a direction, I get to know that direction in its entirety, so that I'm never shortchanged, and I'm always ready to have an open debate where I can learn something, because I try to learn in my debates. And I wish I could teach that skill to others, to argue, but argue where you actually can learn something from the person you're arguing with instead of just being angry. I never argue angry. I argue with an open mind. And I appreciate the opinions you had earlier, and you've lived it just like I have. And so we both have these opinions based on our life experience, and we can agree to disagree on some things and agree to agree on others. And I like calling you friend, and you are that to me. And if there's something I can ever do to help, you let me know. I'd love to be on your podcast one day
Yes,
if you'd
for
have
sure.
me, and I know Kim would too.
Yeah.
Or you can have us
Yeah.
both, whatever you like. But we'd love to come on Label Free because we both believe in the mission of Label Free. I believe we need to stop wasting time on labels and spend that time with family, friends, and things that make us feel better about ourselves.
Woo! Love it.
With the last 30 seconds, is there anything else you'd like to add, Deanna?
You know what? I love what you guys are doing, and I love the topics and addressing the questions that people have and empowering them with the answers. So thank you for having me as a guest. I'm honored to be here, and I look forward to continue our conversations on my podcast.
Awesome.
That sounds wonderful. It really does. And for everyone who wants, the contact information and more about Deanna Kuempel will be in our description box down there where my foot is right now. It'll be down there in the description box. We never leave you shortchanged. And of course, send your questions to us at questions@cruisingintoabetterfinancialfuture.com. That's cruising with a Z, CRUZIN. Questions@cruisingintoabetterfinancialfuture.com. And I'm not doing the sign off. I'm going to hand it off to Kim to do the sign off.
And we will see you next week with another guest where we can help you cruise into a better financial future.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll all see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for being a part of Cruising into a Better Financial Future. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. We'll see you next time. Bye.